Hello, everyone, and good morning for those of you who live where I live and it's morning. Um, so, today we're not going to be baking. I know I promised baking, but we're in a heat wave where it's hotter than the last time, way hotter than the last time I was on. So, today we will not be doing baking. But what I will be doing is we'll be making apple jam, which is fun. It's still fun. It's already pretty hot. I thought for a second it wasn't that hot, but it is pretty hot. So let me show you what we have. By the way, my name's Elisa. We do baking streams on here and cooking streams. So this is perfect to put on your bread. So if you have bread, you can put apple jam on your bread. I have apples here. I shredded them already. This is 3 pounds of apples. I shredded it, put sugar in it, 800 grams of sugar. It's a lot of sugar, but this is not a low sugar recipe. This is a proper jam. And good morning, Roy. Good morning, Roy. So there's sugar in it. And it's just regular white sugar. And I also squirted some lemon juice in it to keep it fresher. But if you're not going to can this, you don't need the lemon juice. But I'm going to can it later, which just means that I want the acidity to be pretty high, the pH to be low, but the acidity to be high to keep it safe for canning. But if you're not comfortable with canning, then don't do it. Okay, but what we're gonna do first is we're going to grind up the spices. So let me show you what spices we have. So here I have, this is cumin, fennel, cardamom, and cinnamon. And here I have Kashmiri chili powder. And you might be thinking, Elisa, what is up with the spices? You're crazy. Yes, I'm crazy. So this recipe is based on an Indian recipe. If anyone in the room is Indian, you probably know what I'm talking about. I think it's more specific to West India, but I'm sure you can get it anywhere. I find it here in New Jersey, so I'm sure you can get it anywhere in India. So it's not really a jam, but or at least I don't think in India it's considered a jam. Here I would consider it a jam. It's called Chundo. It's a mango achar. It's a sweet mango achar. Achar usually translates to pickle, but it's really not what you think of as a pickle. If you live in America, it's not what you think of as a pickle. So it's like this sweet and spicy shredded mango, and I've made it with mangoes before, and it's good. It's just as good as this, but because green mangoes are a little hard to come by here. By the way, it's green mango, which is unripe mango, which is sour. So that's why I chose green apples, because green apples are sour. But going back to what I was saying, mango, you can get it here. I can get green mango here. It's a little more expensive because it is a tropical fruit. But not everyone can get green mango where you are, right? But most people can get green apples in the US. I'm pretty sure everyone in the US can get green apples. So it's perfect. And it tastes very, very similar to almost the same. All right, so I have the spice mix that I approximated. There's a lot, 2.5 teaspoons each. And how many cardamom pops did I have here? I counted them out. I think it's like 40 cardamom pods. So there's a lot of cardamom pods. You can even, if you don't have cardamom pods, you can use 2.5 teaspoons of ground cardamom, which again, everyone can come up with that. Cardamom is a little more expensive, but I think it's essential to get it to taste like Chundo. But I guess you can add more cinnamon if it's too expensive for you. But yeah, cardamom is really good, and a little goes a long way with cardamom. So do you hear people talking outside, Roy? Okay, Mom. I thought it was Roy. Okay, Mom. Do you hear people talking outside? I don't really want to close my window because it's hot. And I might just burn up in here. Well, now it's like you're really here in Bayonne. This is what it's like in Bayonne. You can hear my neighbors chatting it up. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. I can turn this on, let's see. Just so you can see what I'm doing. If it turns on. Yeah, it turned on. Okay, so now you can see what I'm doing. I'll move the computer. I'm gonna crush the cardamom pods. And this might be another reason why you don't want to use the whole pods, because it's a little annoying, it's a little time consuming to crush them all, but I figured I'd show you to crush them. Oh, they got all mixed in with the cinnamon, that's my bad. I'll have to clean up when I'm done, which I probably would have to do anyway. So, okay, so here's our cardamom pods. I think it's 40. 6, 7, 8. It's 40. I was right, it was 40. So, and remember, there's 40 here, but it's a huge batch. It's 3 pounds of apples. And I'm going to give some to my neighbors and things like that, and I'm going to can some. So it might seem like a lot, but it's really not that much, especially when you consider I have all this. If you buy it in the full pod, it comes with a lot, right? I don't remember how much it was for all of this, but it comes with a lot. And now I have this as a spice grinder. I'm going to use this to grind it up. If you like cooking Indian food, or you just like making your own spice mixes, I really like these. I know I've talked about this a lot on here, and that's why I decided to grind the spices with you. I shredded the apple beforehand because I figured you guys know how to shred apple and it's a little messy. But this is pretty cool. Yeah, Roy said, love me some apple jam. We have an apple farm here. Yeah, that's really cool. Apple season's actually, it's not apple season at all yet. But where we are, it starts in July. That's the earliest apples. And I forgot what apples come out in July. It's a specific like variety. Most don't. But the season really starts in August. So soon it'll be apple season here where I am. And that might be a better time to make this. But we're making this now, even if though it's not apple season. So we're going to grind up the spices in here. I'm going to squish this. I usually use this to squish. And then if you open it up, let's see if you can see if I show you here. I know it's a little blurry. Maybe you'll see here. Yeah, you can see here. It is cardamom on the inside. So let me show you. I just kind of get the cardamom out and I compost the skins. You can save the skins if you want to make like a tea or something like that to flavor your tea. But I usually just compost the skins. And I just keep going until I have all 40 in. So you can see this is a little time consuming, but not too bad. And then, like I said, if you want, you can use ground cardamom. This has more flavor though. And I think you get more bang for your buck. Once you ground up a spice, it loses flavor, which is why it's good to ground your spices whole. I don't always grind my spices whole, but I often do. And for me, it works because I buy a lot of spices in bulk. This one I'll come back to. I buy a lot of spices in bulk. So when I do that, I buy them in bulk whole, not ground. Because if I bought them in bulk ground, it might be easier in a lot of ways, but they'll lose their flavor faster. And they'll last years if you don't grind it, if you leave it whole. So it's economical that way. And then if you want, you can make your own spice mixes. Like say you really love this jam or you like the spice mix that goes in the jam. You can make a huge batch of it. And like I said, it does lose its flavor a little bit if you pre-ground things. But you can make a pretty big batch of it, keep it in your cabinet ready to go, and maybe that'll last you like 6 months like that. I do that with like garam masala. I make that. Sometimes I grind up my own chili. Like if I have the dried chilies, which some of you probably have dried chilies if you're in California. If you go to a Mexican grocery store, you can get dried chilies, but they're whole. And you can grind those up and make your own chili powder. I'm not sure who's trying to contact me. It must be really popular. So is it a heat wave everywhere else in the world right now? We got ourselves a heat wave here. I think it might cool down a little bit next week, but not too much. So it's going to be hot. By the way, just because it's hot doesn't mean I'm breadless. So I was going to say, last time I was on here, I made more flatbread, but I made it with whole wheat instead of spelt to show you can make it with different flours. And that's perfect for the summer. I've been making flatbread because you don't turn on the oven. So I didn't want to do flatbread again though, because I've been doing that a lot for you guys. I wanted to do something different. The Bear fan says we have definitely had some beach weather for the past few days. Well, yeah, you're in California. It's actually not that bad here, but it is hot and humid. So it's like we're in the rainforest. So as long as you pretend you're in a rainforest, it's fine. These guys are giving me a hard time. Oh, got it. Got this one. I usually don't do 40 at a time. This might be the most I've ever done at once. Like this. So usually doesn't take me this long. Yeah, these are giving me a hard time. Let's do another. I got it. Yeah. Now everyone gets to hear the beautiful sounds of Bayonne. Almost got it. You can see here it's filling up with the cardamom. So this jam is my favorite jam, probably. I like fig jam. You guys know, you guys saw me try fig jam on here and I loved it. But what I like about this, it reminds me so much of like, I know this might sound weird because it's apple, but it reminds me a lot of pumpkin because of the spices. Oops. Not because of the texture, but because of the spices, it reminds me a lot of a pumpkin. Like a pumpkin butter or pumpkin, I guess you don't really make pumpkin jam, so like a pumpkin butter. I really love cardamom. The Bear Fan says our most popular jam around here is, oh wow, is this, did you write a lollyberry? I've never heard of that. What is that? And that's in California? Never ever heard of that. I mean, our most popular jam here is probably something like grape jelly. But I don't know if we have a popular like specialty jam. Grape jelly. That's what most people eat. And maybe strawberry. I like strawberry jam, but it doesn't taste too much like strawberry. I don't know. Probably because of all the sugar. I feel like it doesn't taste like strawberry. Anders, good morning, Anders. How are you? The Bear Fan says our sunny weather and lots of acidic soils are great for it. I've never heard of the olali berry. Is it a sour berry or is it a sweet berry? Second cardamom that I dropped. It's okay. So Anders, we're just mixing up the spices right now. I'm almost done with the cardamom. That's going to be the most time consuming part, is the cardamom. The Bear Fan says, if you did not know, you would think it was a blackberry. Oh, okay. We have berries here that actually grow right here in the park called mulberries. And they are edible. You might have them in California too. I'm not sure. But they do look like blackberries. But I don't think anyone really uses them for anything. But they're edible, and they grow on trees. So I guess, I don't think blueberries grow on trees, so that would be a difference. But they do look a little like blueberry, or blackberries rather. So the Bear Fan says, it is a cross between a loganberry and a youngberry. Some I never have heard of as well, but they are a lot longer, right? Mulberries? Or the berries you're talking about? A lollyberry. Mulberries, are they long? A little bit. They're small. They're so cute. Squirrels like them too. The mulberry. Anders says, are figs common over there? That's a really good question, Anders. So actually, I always thought that, first of all, I have a fig tree sitting right here in my house. He's huge. But anyway, besides my fig tree, I always thought figs couldn't grow here because it was too cold in the winter. Right now it's not cold. But actually, figs do grow here. I don't know how common they are. I think figs grow more in California and more temperate temperatures, or climates. But here, I do have some neighbors with fig trees like in their lawn, and in fact, there's a fig tree in my backyard, and I have a fig tree in my house. He's fine. So, yeah, they do grow here. I wouldn't say they're common. Wouldn't say they're common. Yeah, mulberries, they're like that big, maybe. And they grow on trees, not on bushes. They look like blackberries when they're ripe. They go from white, when they're not ripe, they're white. They go to red, and then they go to like a dark blue, black color when they're ripe. And like blackberries and raspberries, they have the little bumps on them. So that's why they look a little like a blackberry. And they are a little sour. But they're good. And I don't think anyone does anything with them. Andrew says, my mother-in-law has a fig tree and she always brings me fig jam. That sounds delicious. Like I said, I have a fig tree sitting right here next to me. His name is Fig, obviously. If it ever grows figs, it has never grown figs because I've had it for 2 years, so it's still a baby, but it's pretty big. If it ever grows figs, I'll have to make fig jam. I don't like fresh figs that much. I think because I'm not used to it. I love dried figs. They remind me of Fig Newtons. That's how I used to eat figs when I was a child, Fig Newtons. So I like the dried ones. And I like fig jam. So I like the flavor of it, obviously. I think it's just the texture that's a little weird. But yeah, if we get some figs on here, maybe next year. This year, I think it's a little late. I think it would have grown figs already. Or started to grow figs. So maybe next year we'll get figs. And maybe we'll make some jam with them. It's a little hard because it's inside, so I don't know how, if it'll get figs on it, or if it's, I don't know, not the best environment for it because it's inside, but he seems happy. I actually thought during the winter, I thought it died because it just lost a lot of leaves, but I left him. I took care of him. I watered him less often, but I still watered him. He was absorbing the water, so I was like, okay, he's still alive, but didn't look too good. And then in February, I think, it wasn't even spring yet, it started to grow like crazy. So now he's still growing. He's like, needs his own room. He's outgrown the living room. He needs his own room. You can actually see a little bit of him in the corner. That's him. He takes up like so much space that he's everywhere. All right, the last 3, they're just giving me a hard time. Gotta open them. There you go. And then we can get a move on. 3rd one I dropped. There you go. And now after this, you should feel really accomplished. There you go. So much cardamom. Smells good. Okay, got it. Then you can put the rest of the spices in. I mean, you don't have to put the cinnamon in because it's ground already, but I think I will because it's on the plate. All right, let's get these in first, and I'll get the cinnamon in. Okay, I actually have the whole thing sitting over here. Hi, Reef Daddy. Welcome. My name's Elisa. We're making jam today. We usually do baking streams, but sometimes I also do cooking streams. Today we're doing a jam stream. We're just getting the spice mix ready. So I have the spice mix right here. And because this is the whole thing, the spice grinder, I have it over here because this thing's short, the wire's short. So, but this is what it looks like. And when you press down on it, it'll go. This thing is really cool. It's, thank you, Okay Mom. She purchased this for me. It says Spice and Nut Grinder. It's from Cuisinart, so not sponsored, but it's good. So I'm gonna plug it in. I know you can't see it, but trust me, it's grinding. A little bit more. Andrew says, a spice grinder. I didn't even know there was such a thing. There is a thing. If you cook a lot and if you like to make your own spice mixes, spice grinder's worth it. That's good. So here's what we got so far. I'll add the other spices in because I guess why not? But yeah, it grinds really well. It even grinds cinnamon sticks, but I just used ground cinnamon today. And this is a lot of spice, but it's a lot of apples. It's a lot of apples. And this is Kashmiri chili powder. I mentioned it earlier. I got this from the South Asian grocery store. It's a chili powder, but it's really mild, so it looks like a lot, but it's not that much. I would not substitute this for something like cayenne. Cayenne's too spicy. So if you can find another mild chili powder, that's fine. Korean chili powder's mild, for example. I think Aleppo's mild. But don't use cayenne. Cayenne is too spicy. You're gonna burn your mouth. Yeah, no, that's the right word in English. So Andrew says, well, I do cook a lot, but I'm used to the mortar, and I don't know if that's the right word in English. Yeah, a mortar and pestle, which I have one of those too, but it takes a lot longer, especially if you doing as much as I'm doing here. It just takes forever. So I don't use a mortar and pestle for this. If I'm making like a very small amount, then I'll use it. Andrew says spicy jam. Interesting. Yes, it's spicy. So hold on, let me get this in here, and then I'll explain. So this is based on a South Indian, they call it an achar, which in English translates to like pickle, but it's not really pickle, it's more like a jam. All right, because it's so sweet and it's sticky like a jam. So it's one called Chundo, and it's made with green mangoes. And I have actually made it before with green mangoes. The same recipe works with green mangoes. But, not everyone has access to green mangoes, and even I don't want to go out and buy green mangoes all the time when I could just get a huge bag of green apples instead for much cheaper. So, I don't know, maybe a year ago or so, I've been making this jam for a while. So, 2 years ago, I think 2 years ago, I made this jam the first time with green apples, and I was obsessed. I was like, yes, this is great. So I just use green apples now, and in America, honestly, that's what I suggest you do. You can use green mangoes, but I think why bother when there are green apples? And they're cheaper and they're local. In the fall, you can get them at your farmer's market. You can pick them off the tree. So yeah, we use green apples. But yeah, that's why it's sweet and spicy, because it's based on an Indian achar. But when I first had it, and I bought it from the store. I didn't make it myself. When I first had it, I bought it from the store to try it, and it reminded me a lot of like a pumpkin butter, even though the texture is different. But it reminded me a lot of something pumpkin flavored because of the spice. So it's really good. Yeah, Anders. He said, "Oh yeah, I've heard Indians use mango powder as seasoning." Yeah, so you can actually get that at the South Indian store or South Asian or Indian store too. Uh, I think it's Amchur powder, AMCHUR, I believe, and it's green mango powder, so it's not sweet, it's sour. Yeah, that is good. I prefer just lemon juice, but I do have some Amchur. Okay, so what are we doing next? Good question. So now we're gonna cook. Amchur, yeah, that one. Yeah, if you have an Indian store by you or a South Asian store by you, check it out for their spices and their big bags of beans. That's where I get my spices and beans, because I just buy everything there in bulk and I support my local businesses that way. Okay, I'm gonna unplug this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm going to get my. Andrew says no, meaning you don't have any Indian stores by you. There could be some online too. I know there's some online retailers. I'm lucky. I live in the States and I live in New Jersey, which is a pretty diverse place. I think it's actually the most diverse place in America. I'm not 100% sure how they calculate that. Maybe because it has the most migrants coming here. I'm not sure. But we have a lot of different, like, what would you call that? Like international cuisine. Those types of things here, because there's just so many different peoples living here. So we have down by where I work, there's like, it's called Little India, so there's a bunch of Indian grocery stores and Indian restaurants, but there's also like Middle Eastern places, East Asian, like Chinese and Korean places, Egyptian type things, even West African and Caribbean. There's like anything you can think of is probably here. So I'm kind of lucky that way, but there could be something online too, but it might be more expensive. But yeah, I suggest it. At the South Asian stores are my favorite because of their, and as you know, I don't eat meat, so I eat a lot of beans. So it's good to get like big bulks of beans and big bulks of spices there. Okay, we're gonna cook the jam now, but I'll be right back. I want to get all the supplies. I didn't want to get them before because there's just so much going on on the table, but I'm going to get them now, and then we're going to cook. Okay. okay, let me move some stuff around. Let's see. I want you to be able to see this. So it couldn't be easier what we're doing, okay? Sorry, there's just a lot of stuff on the table. It's my fault. A lot of stuff. Okay. Couldn't be easier what we're doing, guys. So, Anders, thanks for stopping by. Have fun at work. Or try to. Work's not always fun. And hope to see you around soon. So, we're really just going to throw... I'm going to wait for it to get hot. It's starting to get hot. I'm just going to throw the apples in there. And the apples, if you guys weren't here before, I already mixed the apple with sugar. So it's just shredded apple. I used my food processor and put it on the... See, this is why you shouldn't cook like this. Okay. We just used the food processor, or I just used the food processor and put it on the thick shreds. Not the thin shreds, but the thick shreds. On my food processor, if I put it on, let's see if I can get this better. That's a little better. If I put it on thin shreds, it'll come out like mush. So I use thick shreds. And then I mix it with sugar and lemon juice. And then I just let it sit for at least half hour and let the water come out of the apple. It'll cook faster this way. It cooks pretty fast, like 10 minutes. So this is a really good, I know it's like a fall recipe, but it's good if you want to cook something pretty quick. And you can can it too for later. So if you want to save this for the fall, which I might, you can can it. I'm not going to can it today with you. I don't feel like I have the criteria to give instructions on canning, because it's very important that you don't mess that up, because you can get someone sick. But you can can this recipe if you know how to can. Just make sure it's the right acidity level. It has to be below 4.6 pH. But it is cannable, because I've done it before and I've kept it for like 2 years. It was fine. But yeah, you have to make sure it's the right pH. Luckily, apples are very acidic, so that's good. Good. So yeah, but just making the jam, it's really simple. We're just going to pour the apples in, and then we're just going to put the spice in and let it cook down for 10 minutes. It cooks really fast, which is another reason I like this recipe. I usually don't make this much at once. I might have to do it in batches, we'll see. But either way, it's not that bad. Don't be crazy like me. I don't... I was checking how hot it is. Don't listen to me. I'm gonna burn myself. So what's everyone's favorite jam? Okay, I think this one might be mine. I'm not sure. It's hard to say. I like the blueberry jam I make, but this one, the spices make it better. You need the spices, okay? And it does remind me a lot, like I said, of pumpkin. And I love pumpkin. Mostly pumpkin flavored things, like pumpkin spice. So it's good. Roy says we either use the olive berry, which sounds good. I might have to, next time I'm in California, I'll look for it. Strawberry jam or apple butter. Yeah, apple butter is really good. Really, really good. And strawberry jam's also good. I feel like I would have to make it myself. The ones from the store don't really taste like strawberry to me. Okay. Let's pour some in. All right, I got it all in. Ooh, be careful. Be careful, me. I feel like today I've been a little spazzy. I don't know if it's because it's hot out or what. Bear Fan says we only buy it from our farm store, the strawberry jam, I'm assuming. A little more pricey, but you can see what they put in and it tastes before you buy. Yeah, that's good. I would probably buy it from the farmer's market, because the ones from the store I feel like don't taste like strawberry. I feel the same way about blueberry jam. Like, I love blueberries and I like blueberry jam when I make it myself, but when I have it like store bought, it just tastes not like blueberry. I think it's just the added sugar. This has a lot of added sugar, but because of the spices, it's still really good. And that's another thing when you're canning things, you have to be careful with the sugar. So you actually need to use. Usually, there are low sugar jam recipes that you can, but usually, to be on the safe side, adding sugar actually helps to preserve it. So hello, Death Duck. Hello, Death Duck. Welcome, welcome. We're making jam. You missed me cracking up all the cardamom pods, which I figured would be the most fun part for you guys, but that's okay. So I have the spice mix right here that we made earlier, and we're going to put that in here. So, okay, Mom asks, yeah, Death Duck, you missed the pod cracking, and I'm not doing it again. I cracked 40 cardamom pods, which I think is my record. I was like, what do you call that? It's my record. I think so. I have to write it down so I remember. I think 40 is my record. And okay, Mom asked, what's the difference between jam and marmalade? I mean, technically, this is kind of a marmalade. Because I didn't peel the apples. You can peel the apples, but you don't have to. But yeah, it's I'm gonna call it a jam. Marmalade is when you have the citrus, usually citrus, which is why I wouldn't call this a marmalade. But the citrus peels are in the jam. So, for example, an orange marmalade, which is usually citrus. I don't think they make marmalade with anything other than citrus. You take the orange peel and you slice it up and you put it into the jam, and you need a lot of sugar because the peels are bitter. Believe it or not, the peels are bitter, so you need a lot of sugar. But the peel's kind of candy. It almost becomes candy inside the jam. But that would be a marmalade. So it's like jam with citrus fruit, but has the citrus peels in it. Marmalade's really good. I like marmalade. Death Duck says, I always thought marmalade was more analogous to honey than jam. I feel like the marmalade I've had is more like a jam. Because it's kind of chunky, and then it has like peels in it. It's very sweet. And it has to be. Because otherwise it probably wouldn't taste good because it would be too bitter. Death Duck says, I don't know that I've ever had marmalade. Try marmalade. If you like oranges. So I'm not a big orange person and I like it. So I feel like you might like it. We did have, because I actually think OK Mom won a big bag of just random stuff. Maybe a tricky tray or something. And it's years ago. And she gave us a jar of a blood orange marmalade. I happily took it, but I was a little skeptical of it because blood oranges are bitter, and I don't like blood oranges. So I didn't like it. But we ate it. I think I baked with it or put it in oatmeal or something. Because I was just like, we have to put this in something. I don't like it by itself. Death Duck said it's in the category of old-timey foods like rhubarb or chitlins. Have you never had rhubarb, Death Duck? Death Duck says it was something I never heard anyone talk about except my grandma from Oklahoma. You can get it from the store, like at least around here, which I'm sure if it's around here where you are, buy all the other jams. Just the peanut butter and jelly section. They usually have marmalade. Okay, so it's boiling right now. I'm going to put the spices in. And once it's boiling, it takes like 10 minutes. So 10:52. So you'll know when it's done. It's obviously not done yet. It's not even close. But you'll know when it's done. It'll thicken up and start to get kind of sticky. And you don't want to overcook it because then it'll get too firm. But you'll know when it's done. I'll show you what it looks like when it's done. So Death Duck says, I'm in a savory food mood, and so I keep seeing what you're stirring as some sort of soup. It's not well, I guess it's sweet and savory, right? But there's a lot of sugar in it. But yeah, it could be a stew. We've made, we never made stew on here, but we've made some things that, like the tempeh with peanut sauce, that's kind of like a stew. Just like a big mush. I usually, when I cook, I bake a lot of bread, and that's kind of meticulous. But when I cook, I usually just kind of make a big mush and then put it on the bread. That's what we do. This also is a big mush, but this is a little bit more meticulous because I'm going to can it. So a little bit more. Death Duck says, much is good food. Yeah, a lot of good food is just a big mush, right? It's good. And it's easy. The Bear fan says, fill in the blank, the apple jam is going on my... Yeah, the apple jam is going to go on the flatbread I made this morning, which, for those of you who weren't here, because I think I mentioned this like way early, you guys might not have been in the chat. Last week I wasn't here, but 2 weeks ago, I made more flatbread. My hands are all red. 2 weeks ago, I made more flatbread, and because it was warm, but it's way hotter today. I should have waited till today to make flatbread, but it was warm, so I made flatbread, and I made it with whole wheat instead of spelt, so I updated the recipe on my blog, which I'll put here. I updated that to include some a variation with whole wheat, which is the same thing, you just add a little bit more water. And I also made more flatbread today, but I made it with einkorn. It was the same thing. So I'll update that again. But I didn't want to make flatbread again today with you guys because I just did it. So that's how it is. Didn't want to do it again. But I'm not baking. At least not... I'm not turning on the oven today. Not today. Maybe next week. But yeah, I put this on the flatbread. And I actually like to put a little bit of lemongrass. Not lemongrass, sorry, lemon verbena on it. I love lemon verbena. I have a plant now that it's staying alive amazingly. So there's that. So yeah, I'm going to put this on my flatbread with a little lemon verbena, and it's yummy. You could even make a peanut butter and apple jam sandwich. I think that's good summer food in my opinion. Even though the apple jam is kind of fallish, I think it's good, easy summer food. So Death Duck says he just started making a sourdough starter. Death Duck says, I imagine that the heat waves are wreaking havoc on plant life out there. Yeah, so I don't know how the crops are doing. I imagine if you're a farmer, there's like methods to keep the plants safe. Um, Maybe to cover it, to protect it from the sun. There has to be you for that, you know. My plants that are in my house love heat waves. Okay, they love it. They're like, yay, it's hot and it's humid. They love it. The only thing is my lemon verbena, which I just got. Last time I had a lemon verbena, I killed it. This one's still alive. I had it for like 2 weeks, so let's pray for it. But it didn't really like the sun. Everyone tells me that lemon verbena has to be in full sun. All right, but I don't think it really. I think it likes the sun, but it also wants it to be a tropical rainforest all the time. So I've been spraying it with a little water every day, and it's doing better than before I started doing that. So I don't know. So I just do that, if it's going to be too sunny. So I think the leaves were burning. I think that's what it was. And I imagine, like, if you're a farmer, the leaves that might happen to leaves of your plants, and you might have to. There's a way to deal with it, to cover it up or to spray it with water, like I was doing. I don't know. That success is it just a camera angle, or is your phone like half again longer than most phones? It's my camera. This is a camera. It's not my phone. Um, and it like I don't know what happens, but when I connect it to the computer, it does have it's smoking a little bit, or not smoking but fogging. It has like a different I don't know the word for it. It's just different orientation. It has a different orientation when it connects it to the computer. So I'm not that tech savvy. It's amazing that I got it connected to the computer. Okay, the first day I tried to connect it, it didn't want to connect. So it's a miracle. Oh, you mean this? Sorry. You said, is your phone like half again longer than most phones? It's like this. Sorry. I shouldn't have my phone there anyway. I don't need it. It's a bad habit to keep your phone with you all the time. I'm just plugging in my computer so I don't lose you. So, that says, I wonder how much more water farms consume during heat waves. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, angles can be weird sometimes. It's getting thicker, but it's not done yet. Maybe because it's a bigger batch, it might take a little longer. But yeah, it's not done yet. It's gonna get all sticky. You'll see. Like syrupy, because the sugar cooked. It almost like candies it. It smells really good though. The Bear fan says, was making the wheat flatbread the same process the one you made on IG with the spelt, or does it change the process? It's the same process. The only change I made was that I added more water because the whole wheat absorbs more water than spelt. So I think I wrote it down. I think I added 20 more grams of water, but you'll see it on my blog post if you want to make it. I wrote it in the notes section on the bottom that you can make it with whole wheat, and I wrote what water I used, what amount of water I used, and everything. And today I made it with einkorn, just because I'm like, the only thing I'm making is flatbread now. So I was like, let me try it with the different, type of flour, and it. I didn't even change the water amount, and it worked fine. It was really nice and fluffy too. But yeah, Death Duck, how? Oops, it's fogging again. Death Duck, how is your sourdough starter coming out? When did you start it, and how is it looking? Death Duck says it's only day 4, but it's going better than the last time I tried it. Turned into separated watery grossness. Okay, that's good, Death Duck. I'm glad. You got it to day 4, so that's good. Usually takes like 2 weeks for it to be really ripe, mature enough to bake with. 2 weeks, I mean, 4 days is good. Death Duck says, would I have to be mature before I bake? No idea. Death Duck, you can be immature if you want to be, but don't be too immature. Like, make sure you know how to use a stove and an oven and stuff. But the sourdough starter has to be mature, or it will not, you know, make your bread rise. And that'll be unfortunate. Almost done, actually. It's looking nice and sticky. Sticky, sticky, sticky. I think because we put a big batch in here, because usually I do it in a smaller batch, it might take like 5 extra minutes, but it's still good. It's still much better than turning on the oven. Death Duck says when it says discard some and then feed it, do you throw the unused stuff away, or is there some other way to use it? So, firstly, I personally don't discard very often. I rarely discard. I know some people say to discard like every time you feed it, but I do find that wasteful. But if you do discard, there are sourdough discard recipes. You can use it in like cookies, muffins, quick breads, pasta, even. You can make savory things with it too. I have some recipes on my blog for sourdough discard stuff. Like I have sourdough discard, Irish soda bread, and banana bread, and I think cornbread. At least those three. I might have another one too. So there are ways to use the sourdough discard. I don't discard that often though. I know why people do it to get everything exact, but my sourdough starter is very strong and I don't discard. I also keep a stiff starter, which means since you're just starting, Death Duck, just get your sourdough starter mature. But when I say stiff starter, all I mean is that my starter is dry. I use, say, 2-to-1 ratio flour to water. So say it's like 100 grams flour to 50 grams water when I feed it. And because it's dry, it stays, I guess, ripe, active, yeah, active for longer. So it's really helpful. It makes things easier for me. I don't really have to worry about, well, of course I have to feed it, but I don't have to worry about feeding it at the right time or making sure I feed it like 3 times a week or whatever people do. I just, it's really easy. Yeah, that's like mine's in the refrigerator. I only take it out when I feed it and when I use it for recipes. But I store mine in the refrigerator and it could stay. I don't usually do this because I bake so much, but it could stay in the refrigerator for like months and be fine. Once you get yours really active, you should be able to do that too. It's almost done. So you see how you can tell it's pretty much done. When I go like this, and it creates like a line. Yeah, it's almost done. It smells really, really good. Good question, Death Duck. What did I use? So of course I used cardamom, cinnamon, fennel, and cumin. Those are the 4, and then Kashmiri chili powder. So cardamom, cumin, fennel, cinnamon, Kashmiri chili powder. That might sound weird, but this is based off Indian, what they call it achar, which means pickle, but it's more like a jam. It's really sweet. It's called Chundo, Chundo. If you have an Indian grocery store, you'll find it with the other pickles. But you'll see, even by looking at it through the jar, it looks like a jam. And it is. It tastes like a jam. And it's used as a condiment. That's why it's called achar. It's used as a condiment. But the first time I had it, I bought it as like experiment to see what it was. And I was like, oh, it's jam. But I loved it. So I tried to recreate it. Chundo is made with green mangoes. You can make this with green mangoes. I've made it with green mangoes before, the same recipe. But obviously not everyone has access to green mangoes, and I mean, I have access to green mangoes, but I still would prefer to use green apples because they're cheaper and easier to use. You can get them at a farmer's market, they're local. So I make it with green apples. And so that's why we have all these spices in here. That's what it's based off of. And it's really, really good. It reminds me a lot. I know it's not pumpkin spice, but it reminds me a lot of pumpkin spice. It's really good. And Death Duck, don't be sorry for missing some of the stream. That's okay. Death Duck says, I don't know of a farmer's market around here. I'll have to investigate that. Death Duck, don't you live in California? Shouldn't there? I guess California is really big. I don't know. When I think of California, I think there should be farmers markets down there or over there. In California, I walk around in Los Angeles. We walk around and people have fruit trees in their backyards, so you can just grow an apple tree. We've seen people with apple trees, but more common we saw like lemon trees and orange trees. Yeah. Okay. So how long did it take? This took more like 20 minutes. It's done. So this took a little longer than the 10 minutes I promised, but still not that bad. But I usually make like half this amount, so I guess that makes sense. That took a little longer to cook down. see it makes streaks. And it looks a little runny right now, but it's going to thicken up once it cools down. So you don't want it to be too thick because then it'll be stiff when it cools down. This is a good consistency. Death Duck says, I wish I had the space to grow my own trees. I would start with an avocado tree for sure. Well, you can kind of see right here, this one. This is my fig tree that's growing inside. So, I mean, if there's a will, there's a way. Yeah, this guy's huge, so you can't escape him. I have less room on my table right now because Fig is on my table. Fig takes up the whole table. It's his table now. If I was a better grower, I'd figure out a way to like manage his growing pattern, which I should really have to do because he's crazy. So big. Either way, wherever you are, whether in California or in New Jersey, I'm pretty sure green apples, at least in the US, green apples are cheaper than green mangoes. A lot of people probably can't even find green mangoes. I'm blessed to have a lot of, like I said earlier, I have a lot of different types of markets around me. So they even sell green mangoes at the Mexican market here, but they also sell them at the Chinese grocery store. They sell them at the Indian grocery store. So I know I can get green mangoes and green papayas. Green papayas are really good, but they're still more expensive. And you know, rather get like a local fruit like an apple. So, and it tastes so similar, and it even looks very similar too. I don't know if you'd fool like an Indian person with it. Maybe. So popular. So popular. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm not going to do it with you guys, unfortunately. Maybe one day I'll do it with you guys. When I'm canning, I want to make sure everything is exactly right because, you know, canning's a preservation method. You have to make sure everything is clean and sterile. I don't want to be touching my computer while I'm canning. So maybe one day we'll do it together. We'll can together. I'm going to can some of this. And what I do, I have a water bath canner, and I just put this in jars, and I boil it in the water bath canner for 15 minutes. Then I remove the jars very carefully, and then eventually the jars will pop, which means they sealed. It's really cool. And what the water bath canner does is it just kills all the bacteria and then seals the jar for you. The only thing is there's a few things you have to make sure of. I'm not an expert in canning, but the basics, you have to keep the pH level below 4.6. This has a pretty low pH level. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but it's pretty low. Apples have a low pH level. And then I also put some lemon juice on it just to make sure. I think it's okay with the lemon juice, but just to make sure, I add lemon juice. Better safe than sorry. So don't can things like tomatoes. You're not supposed to can, even though they have a low pH level. I think it's on the border. There's a few other things you're not supposed to can, like potatoes. You're not supposed to can with the water canner. And then another thing is pumpkin jam and apple jam, which is why this is good. This is better. Pumpkin jam and apple jam you shouldn't can because it's too thick, but this is not the same consistency as that because this is apple pieces kind of almost candied in the sugar, whereas apple jam is like a mush. That's why you should overcook this too, because you don't want it to turn into a mush. Once it turns into a mush, it becomes too thick to can. So you have to be careful of that. So this is still shreds. See? It's still in shreds. So yeah, so I'm gonna can this. One day we'll can together, guys. You can also can things like pickles because they have a low pH level. And once you can it, it'll last. I've had things last like over 2 years. Just, be careful whenever you're preserving food in your home. But yeah, I'm going to do that today. And I'm also going to give some to my neighbors. So hopefully they like sweet and spicy apple jam. I might make another batch for them. I'm not sure. I might make a less spicy batch for them. Well, let's see. But yeah. So today we made apple jam. I'm going to put a recipe for this on the blog. So let me write that down. So, Dead Duck. Yes, I agree, Dead Duck. Whatever you just said, I agree. I'm going to put a recipe for this on the blog if you guys want to try. I'll probably repost it in the fall when you guys will probably want to make this, but it's good to make now too. So I'm going to put a recipe on the blog so you guys can try it. And I'll also post some stuff about it, some pictures of it on my other socials. Yeah. Okay. I've been posting shorts too on my YouTube channel. I think a lot of you are on my YouTube channel or you're subscribed to my YouTube channel. So you might have seen them already. Just shorts of me baking. Which you guys get the full picture here. You see me baking all the time. And then my Discord is there. My Discord is there. Okay, guys. It's kind of empty, but if you guys want to chat on there, go for it. I'll be there. My Instagram, I post on my Instagram not only about this stuff, but a lot about my cottage bakery. So if you guys are curious about my cottage bakery, my Instagram's a good place to follow me. And my Pinterest is there. My Pinterest, I post recipes on there. So if you guys are just interested in the recipes, check out my Pinterest. You can pin all my stuff. It's fun. I think Pinterest is fun. I like pinning stuff. So yeah, those are my socials. I don't have a Twitter yet. Sorry, I can hardly keep track of these socials. I'm always late on one of them. But yeah, and my website, I also have updates on my cottage bakery as well as, the recipes on there. On the recipe blog tab, you'll see my recipes on there. Okay, so let's see. Is there anyone, well, how many people are here first of all? Let's see. Oh, there's 3 of you. Okay, I mean, that's not that many. Is there anyone here, but it's still a good amount. Oh, I don't see anyone online. Does anyone know of anyone who's online that you want to raid, or should we skip the raid today? It says there are 3 of you here. I don't think that's including me, so 3 of you here. Yeah, I don't see anyone online on my side. That doesn't know to raid. Oh, the Bear fan says people don't start till later. I To me, this is later. Okay. I used to start at 8 a.m. and I moved it to 9 a.m. and then I just moved it to 10 a.m. because I'm like, nobody's up, okay? Because a lot of you guys are in California. Some of my viewers are in Europe or even Asia and they're up, but sometimes they're going to bed even. But if they're in Asia, but you guys who are in California are like not up yet at 8 a.m. So plus it's summer, so the sun stays out later. I'll have more time to, if I need to bake later in the day and show you guys, I have more time. But today we're not doing that. But yeah, so I moved it later. But to me, this is later. I'm an early bird, okay? I'm up at like 5 a.m. I'm doing stuff. I'm busy. But yeah, that's okay. We don't have to raid today. Okay, guys. So I'm going to go soon. Does anyone have any comments, suggestions, feedback? Another thing on my Discord that's pretty cool that people don't use this function too much, but on my Discord there's a section for giving me like suggestions. So if you guys have suggestions, you can go on my Discord and just write some suggestions in the suggestions tab. Okay, I don't think that link works. I have to fix my Instagram link. I don't think it works. I don't know how long it's been like that or if it's always been like that. But that's okay. But feedback, suggestions, critiques. Okay. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed the stream. It was a little shorter, but we're in a heat wave and I'm gonna do other things and hang out in the living room. It's kind of hot in here. I have an air conditioner, but I just keep it in the bedroom for when we're sleeping because that's when we really need it. Because I can't sleep in the heat. But yeah, I digress. This has been the Jersey Girl Breaktress making apple jam. And I will post it on my website if you guys want to copy it. And without further ado, I will see you next Sunday. I'm not sure what we're doing next Sunday. I have like ideas to bake stuff with you guys, but it depends on the weather and I guess my energy levels and what I feel like dealing with that day. If I'm gonna brave it out in the heat and just turn the oven on, but today we weren't doing that. Death Duck says I can't do much in the heat at all, mostly slumping. Yeah, it's been like real feel like over 100 degrees with humidity the last 2 days. I don't know what the temperature is right now, but I can feel it getting hot. I can feel it getting hot. So that's why I was like, no, we're not turning on the oven. But the Bear fan, no problem. I'm here. So next Sunday, I'm not sure what we're going to do, but I plan on making bread. That was my plan for today too, but I changed it. I plan on making bread. We'll see how hot it is, if I feel like turning on the oven, if it's worth it. But I have some ideas for you to do with you guys. Okay, Mom says I have an AC if you want it. No, I guess the problem is I don't want to block off one of the windows with an AC unit. Unless I guess it's a standalone AC. Okay, Mom, we'll talk about it later. But yeah, I don't want to block off one of the windows with an AC unit. I really don't have the space for it. My windows are taken up with my plants. Okay, Death Duck, I love your ducks. You're welcome for the stream. I'll see you guys on Sunday. Bye, guys.